Okay, let us begin. Hope everyone is having a great Friday. I am Mansi Bhatia, your moderator for today. So we have today gathered here for a webinar on the topic navigating the evolving landscape of employee background screening. So a few housekeeping items before we start. So you all can send in your questions in the chat box that you can see at the bottom of your screen. Please feel free to ask as many questions as you want. We will take them up at the end of the webinar. Today, I am joined with Anil Dhar and Himanshu Sonawane. A Patna and Punjab University graduate, Anil comes with over 30 years of corporate sales, business development, and management experience across industries. He has been a serial entrepreneur with deep industry connections. He is currently working as a senior vice president and founding member at AuthBridge. Welcome, Anil.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Good evening.
And IIM Kashipur alumni, Himanshu has over 12 years of experience across industries, leading initiatives to streamline processes, drive operational excellence, and optimize product performance. At AuthBridge, he's spearheading the product development of our onboarding solutions. Welcome, Himanshu.
Thanks, Mansi. Hey, hi, everyone. Welcome to the webinar.
Moving on to the agenda, today we will discuss how background verification has evolved over the years and the recent trends, both globally and specific to India. We will then move on to a case study to understand how AuthBridge transformed the employee background screening for its clients. Lastly, you will have a Q&A session wherein you get to ask as many questions as you want. Handing it over to you, Anil and Manshu.
Thank you, Vamsi. Thanks, everyone, for joining in. In the paucity of time, I think let's start. So I'll just take you through a brief journey of how background verification started globally in India, and also from a perspective with doing background verification in the past. So I do remember my father used to tell me that whenever we were hiring, whenever they were hiring somebody in their organization, which is almost like 35, 40 years back, they tended to do a background check, or not a background check, but yeah, they used to name it as reference check by way of writing out a letter to the previous employer to check about the individual, irrespective of the fact if the individual responds back or not. But there was a process which was being followed by some of the organizations at that point of time, but it was just labeled as a reference check that people used to do for people who were joining in. So from there, how the process evolved, we over a period of time it got structured more from a perspective, not from India perspective, but more from a global perspective, because US was the first country to look at structured way of doing background verification and making background verification part of the candidate onboarding process or a part of the TA process. From where and that is from where it started percolating down to other geographies in the world, especially when US opened up the outsourcing to the third world countries, and that's how background verification also came into India. In the late 90s, when the outsourcing started happening, and companies like Infosys, TCS, who started putting people onto US processes or US clients, whether they were technology or banking or healthcare. So to fulfill the US FCRA guidelines of having people background verified was the time when background verification came into light in India, and the HR fraternity or the talent acquisition fraternity got to know about background verification. But to a very large extent, I would say till about 2006, 2007, the entire piece was restricted to only those processes and only those organizations who were working in the outsourcing space. So till about 2007, 2006, 2007, the only organizations who were doing background verifications were organizations who were delivering for for their overseas clients, and also doing background verification only for those people who were being deployed on those processes and not 100%. But as we moved on, people started understanding the value of background verification. Why is it important? Why should we do it? The penetration started increasing. In our initial say, we also started the organization in 2005, and then in our initial 1.5 years, it was more of educating the market about why background verification is important. It is like it was like a life insurance agent coming to you and telling you why the life insurance is an important thing for you to buy. So it was that kind of education that we were doing in the industry. Specifically when you were trying to move out of IT and ITES, because there were hardly any takers for background verification with that. And a general statement of, yeah, हम तो अपने network में से hire करते हैं. We know people. We are from the HR fraternity. It's a very small fraternity, so we speak to people and figure out how the person is. But the structured way was missing. So in about 2008, 2009, we started seeing increase in penetration of background verification. More and more organizations started looking at doing background verification at a stage when people were coming into the organization, specifically in India. There, so India always has been I would say, till about 2020, India was adopting processes from a background verification perspective, which were ongoing in the developing nations. Like, for example, in the developing nations where you had access to data, the data was in a structured format. You had a citizen ID of a country based on which you were able to pull out information, which were consent-based information, because the data was structured, and government was willing to open those data sets for organizations like us. A lot changed. Like, for example, we first heard about uh, credit checks being done in employment on the employment side in the year 2010, when in India you could have not even thought about doing it, because that data was still in a very nascent stage in India, and second, the data was not available for anybody outside the BFSI fraternity to do anything about. So that's how, and over a period of time, as India progressed on databases, as India progressed on Aadhaar number, for example, which is your citizen ID, and more data points got connected to Aadhaar, so we were able to do more data point validations. So that's where the digital India came into existence. The digital age, as we say, in the background verification space came into existence, and people started realizing, organizations like us and the organizations which are hiring people started realizing, why can't we use this data with the consent based? You need to do background verification rather than doing it the way it has been done before. And then technology by itself also played a very large role. Right from when we started this business, there was paper trail which was going around everywhere. So employees used to submit documents to the organizations who were our clients. So those clients used to give documents to us for verification. We would send those documents either to the university or colleges and get verifications from them, and then get those documents back to the client, to a state today where we work in an environment which is a connected environment. So the data resides in the HRSS of the client, from where it is pushed to our applications. We are able to do instant checks, real-time checks at the background. I'll give a data set back to the client in their HRMSs for them to see whether whether the candidate is high level or is not high level. So there's a lot of change which has happened right from the time when organizations were sending out a letter with a return envelope to do reference checks to a time where we are using machines or we are using integrations to solutions talking to each other and giving out background verification as a result. Yeah.
Yeah. So one question, Anil sir. So
Yeah.
you talked about the how the background verification has, I mean, changed over the last 10, 15 years or 20 years, I would say. In that, but if I want to understand how the risk has also evolved. I mean, with the as the time changes, there are evolving risks. So how the risk has evolved in the last few years, or in front of you, if you have seen some examples that such risks were not there, but today those risks are there. So how those are, if you can
So
throw some light on.
so there's a lot of change which has happened, and primarily these changes have been brought into if have been able to give us a lot of insight into how we can do background verification very differently. Look at risks which are different than what we were looking at 15 years back. Like, for example, I said about the
Mhm.
credit bureau reports. Now, credit bureau reports are something which were not available to be done. You could have not thought of doing credit history checks in India from an employment verification standpoint. Right. Now, why are organizations looking at credit? What is the risk which is different than doing an employment verification and an education verification? See, historically, when you look at it, and when you look at background verification, organizations want to make sure that the candidate is coming in with the right credentials that he has stated on his CV. Right. So that's the
Right.
primary objective. But then as the market matures, as there are new risks which people identify, now credit history is one of such risks where it's not about what is the score, which credit score which the candidate has, but it is also about
Mm.
what is the kind of liabilities that the candidate has. Does those liability match with the income of the candidate? Right.
Mm.
So what organizations are also interested to know is there a red flag which can lead to some misspelling in the future? Maybe, and hence can be avoided today. Right.
Yeah.
So basically, is are individuals' expenses in line with this income? Not. Not. Tomorrow, there can be a situation where he comes. Right, it could be a first time, but there is a probability if something doesn't go right, he might end up doing something wrong.
Right.
Right. So even the way people are thinking now at the time of hiring, looking at people differently at the time of hiring, like for example, the social media check. Social media check is another thing which has evolved over a period of time. We were not able to do social media check till the time we were not able to get the individuals handles, social media handles, because it's very difficult to identify people on social media. So, but today we have technology or process technology available with us where we can do social media checks for individuals without asking them for their handles, social media handles. By by way of his consent, his or her email ID and phone numbers, we are able to access their social media profiles and see if there are any negative. Is there any if there's any biasness that the people have put on their social media? This is something which organizations are looking at. Right, because globally, the environment is such that the organizations want to avoid connecting with somebody who has a bias. It could be anything. The bias could be anything. It could be a diversity bias, which has something to do with diversity bias, right? Or an ethnic bias, or a color bias. It could be anything.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Anil, for that. I think we have seen, or we all got a first-hand view of how things have changed over the years, and some of the examples that you shared were, I think, most of us might not be aware of it as well. So, from history to now future, where do we see the trends moving? What is happening in the BGB industry? If you could talk about the latest trends.
Yes. So, Mansi, good question. I would say so. Definitely, as Anil sir was saying that over the years we have seen the drastic change from the manual documentation to moving documents from candidates to companies to background verification players to the verification, so to the universities or the companies. So that those were the manual, what I would say, type of verifications that we had conducted. But over the period, it has changed due to either due to the technology or due to the we India being following the what is the happening in the global market. So if I have to give you start key what we see in the global market. So for example, if I have to just quote couple of countries or examples, one is the US. US have the your all history linked to your one unique ID, which is SSN, or not if not all, majority of it. Similarly, Singapore has the SingPass as the one unique identity where you are all the if you want to access any government related or any services, the SingPass is the one identity which verifies that this is the person. Like in Indian context, this is the person, this is his PAN number, this is his driving license, and this is his addresses. All those things are on the one identity. So India will follow the similar trend in the upcoming dates, but how till now we have achieved this is something a very interesting story that I feel from my experience. So let me give you my perspective on that, and we'll talk about how it is going to change in a future. I have a different thoughts on that. I'll talk about couple of thoughts how it is going to change in the future. So let's talk about how it till now the whatever we see in terms of the background verification or the just verification, how the technology has enabled. So 10, 12 backs we saw the rise of startups ecosystem in the India in I would say 2012, 14. There were around 2.5k startups, and right now there are more than 8k startups. So we have seen the already we have seen the in the startup industry we have seen the growth of triple almost triple growth we have seen. And these startups always had the different success metrics as compared to the traditional success metrics. So when I say the different success metrics, these are the numbers, either their supply numbers, such as how many drivers they onboard, how many delivery partners they onboard, how many merchants they have, how many partners they have, which creates the base of their business, and which also is the number to carry for them in the bench for the fundings. So they were very aggressive in the expanding their networks in pan India or the specific area of their operation, and for which this startup ecosystem created a jobs for the Bharat. So when I say Bharat, it's these are the people who are not in the tier one or the not the traditional people who are into the white, where we called as the white collar people. So these were the people who had the just a 10th 12th pass. They don't have the organized professional history. So these were the people who came to the formalized employment sector, and which created definitely need of the background verification. And here these startups banked on the technology. So technology was there. It's not that we were not using the technology for the white collar, but these startups or these companies where the need for hiring was very quick. They had the hiring and onboarding and verifying was very critical, and the speed was the key for them during that these gig workers, I would say. So which in turn gave a I would say we started talking about the gig economy and gig economy. In gig economy, if we see the today's numbers, so we have roughly around 7 million gig workers or active gig workers or the entrepreneurs, I would say, today, and that is going to increase to the by one of the research says that will rise to the 25 million India by 2030. So in just next 4 5 years, we are going to see a drastic hiring in that space also, and kudos to the startup ecosystem for creating such huge employments for the Bharat. So technology was something which helped them in onboarding so many new gig workers quickly, but there was always one challenge that we had: are these people are not from the tier 1, these are not that much educated people, so are these people are technological savvy? If I want to who have a complete onboarding and verification journey on mobile itself, will they able to do it? Will there be a challenges? All those thoughts were there in the minds of the people who were actually designing these processes, or the people like us who were designing the background verification processes for them. But there was an interesting number. If you see the gig workers demographics, 48% of those gig workers are either Gen Zs or millennials. These are the people who have seen the mobiles in front of their. They are not the people who were using the landlines and the old technology. When they born, they had the mobiles in front of their, or mobiles came when they were in their early age. So they were technologically savvy people. So this helped the companies to digitize their onboarding and verification completely digital, which in turn made the background verifications player think beyond the existing one. So till now they were integrating with HRMS, ATS applications, doing the background verification distantly. But with the help, since this rise of gig economy helped them or invest more on the technology, so we started doing the I would say deep integrations with their CRMs or the HRMS or the applications. So right now, same we see in the white collar also, the people are the HRMSs are taking our APIs to verify the candidates before hiring itself. So if I want to ensure that at least their PAN, Aadhaar is something, or the any NID, I would say, is something relevant, I will integrate it into HRMS also. I don't have to hire a candidate and then send it to the background verification player. That's one thing. Secondly, focus on the instant verification. So whether it's the instant verification of the our national IDs, whether instant verification of employments, whether instant verification of education, all those things are right now possible just using the APIs. Not completely for all the scenarios, but partially, yes, it's possible. And I'll just give you one example. So when we did the DigiLocker, implemented the DigiLocker at our end for fetching the education documents of the candidates, that was the when we fetched the one first candidate's data. It was a very huge success. We applaud a lot. I mean, that helped us to collecting the information from the candidate quickly. He don't have to carry his documents with him every time, or carry it in mobile. He can fetch it using the DigiLocker. For us, it's a quick verification. We don't have to go to university and verify. So that's one example that I just wanted to share. So this is how we have reached, with the help of cross industry solution applied to the white collar background verification. So that's where we have reached till now. But still there were some challenges or the concerns which industry had, which will maybe regarding the data privacy. So you need to, if you are using a technology, you have to be ISO compliant. You have to be certain certifications. We have this SOC 2 type 2 compliance with us. We have the GDPR, which is a global compliance ask nowadays. So that's also important when you are banking on the technology for the background verification, or if you are looking for moving a background verification in more digital manner or technological manner, the data privacy is a big concern, and we are also I would say compliant in the multi aspect.
Sorry to come in over here, but so
Yeah.
see, as a background verification partner to any organization, what we are privy to is a lot of PII, which is personally identifiable information. And a lot of this information is very sensitive, has to be handled very carefully, has to be secured or stored in a very secured environment, has to comply to global norms, which is why organizations like us have to go in for GDPR, have to go in for SOC 2 compliances, have to go in for SOC 2 certifications. So these are certifications which basically give a confidence to our clients that their employees' personal data is in safe hands. And it is very important, not only from employer's perspective, but also from an employee's perspective. Because ultimately it's the employees, it's an individual's data which is being processed by us on behalf of somebody. Right. So that's a very important point. And most of the organizations that we work with are looking at and have been looking at GDPR as a standard, and a few of them have also been looking at SOC 2 Type 2 as a standard, so which ensures that the data is handled properly. Also, in the latest trends, I was talking about social media. Social media is one of those checks which organizations are definitely looking at with a very different view. It's not about what you're posting. It's not about what you're doing on social media. It is basically to figure out, are there any biases which you are projecting on the social media, which organizations want to avoid? And the way the social media engines work now, it's not only for us, it is not only picking up posts which are textual posts, but we are also looking at posts which are images. And by way of analyzing those images, you are able to basically tell about if identify the biases of an individual. Apart from that, we are also getting a very increased demand on the drug tests or drug screenings. Or another point which we have not mentioned over here is the health score of the organization, looking at pre-employment or post-employment health checkups or continuous health checkups during the tenure of an individual in the organization. So, especially after COVID, if I talk about the health checkup or the health score, especially after COVID, there's a lot of focus which organizations have started putting on wellness programs that are being run in the organizations. But the question which is there with the HR folks is what to focus, where to focus when you're running a wellness program. There has to be some basis on which you want to run your wellness programs. So those bases or those platforms are given to the HR folks by way of conducting a cross-organization health checkups, which basically tells you that okay, 7%. I was sitting with one of our clients yesterday who said we recently did health checkups for close to 7,000 of our existing employees, and where the average employee age is 33 or 34. They said we found out that our employee base, which is from the age of 25 to 30, we had 7% people who were pre-diabetic in the age bracket of 25 to 30. Right. So we were able to figure out a wellness program that we have to run across the organization. So it's not to do with background verification, but it's a way of looking at how you can what you really want to do with your. And then there's a lot of global workforce which is moving in, moving out. It's not only till about 10 years back there were a lot of expats which were coming into India, but if you look at it today there are a lot of expats in the other countries who originate from India. So both ways, what are the checks that can be done for them? There are organizations who always keep on coming back to us that how can you help you in this? How can you help us on this? So that's another area where we have been constantly focusing on. We are able to deliver services in across 140 plus countries across the globe to help some of our large clients in as they say, employee mobility during their course of movement from one country to another or one continent to another.
Sure.
So,
Understood.
Mansi, we have a couple of minutes or we are behind the schedule?
No, we are
We are
on
running
time.
behind.
Yeah, just a bit behind, but if you want to add something, please go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to add a few things. So one thing which we talked about majorly, and the Anil sir also gave more on the how uh, the BGV has evolved till now, and so I just wanted to take a couple of minutes on the how it is going. What's my thought on how it is going to evolve in the future? So I'll take the examples of the gig economy itself. So last 2 3 years, whenever being a product manager, whenever I got a chance to interact with the gig worker, either during my day routine, I always ask them, do you see this job? If you are a delivery partner, or if you are a driver, or you are doing any job, is it your permanent job? Is it something that you are doing from long time, or if you're associated with the one company, or is it from 1 year or something like that? I used to ask such questions to them. So what insight I got. So earlier it was more of uh, by the term of gig economy, it was said that the gig workers have the lifespan of 3 to 4 months, or not more than 6 months. They are either change their professions, or they are not that much loyal with the company, and they very frequently change between the two platforms or the two companies. Today they are a delivery partner, tomorrow they might be a cab driver or something like that. But if recently this year itself we got due to one of our clients who is operating on the same area, we developed some one journey for them, and I was interviewing some of the delivery partners. I was asking them, is it your permanent job? What do you see? So these people are right now, what they are saying, this is my permanent job. This I'll be doing at least, if you ask them, I'll be doing this job at least for next 4 5 years. I don't have an issue with this. So this gives a idea that right now, since they had the lifespan of 3 to 4 months, we had the multiple times verification at the time of onboarding was going on. But the future is basically a continuous compliance, and when the continuous compliance comes, so you will try to ensure that that person do not have the criminal history year and year basis. Today, at the time of onboarding, he was clean, but maybe after 6 months, he is not clean. He has committed some fraud or has committed some crime. So the continuous compliance becomes critical. And when we talk about the continuous compliance, then the technology will come into space where the verified credentials of the people will be needed to quickly onboard. Right now, the TAT is from 14 days to 4 days to 1 day to few hours, but it will be an instant. So the instant onboarding is, or the instant verification of the complete profile is something is going to be the future, I would say, which is basically a global trend. I would say having a sync pass. Similarly, India will have something either through the government or the private entities will do that. So that's my one thought on that.
Sure. And thank you for sharing that, Himanshu. I think we discussed a lot of trends, and now let's try to understand what are the challenges that even our audience is facing. So I think I have a poll for you all right now, which should be coming up on your screen right about now. So here, if you could all just vote in and tell us what are your biggest challenges in terms of background verifications. We'll wait for a couple of minutes for everyone to give us their choice. Yes. So as you can see, data accuracy, Anil and Himanshu, is what seems to be the biggest challenge, closely followed by the turnaround time for background verification. What are your thoughts on it, or your experience, and where do you think we can actually help, or the vendors as a BGV vendor can help there?
Data accuracy comes to background verification is a very it's a sensitive thing. Most of the organization and most people have faced this challenge in the past. But in today's time, I would say the data accuracy from the source is not challenging, because most of the data that we work on currently is digitized. When I say digitized, is kept in a digitized format by the source. So today, if I'm going back to an to an education institute asking them for a verification, my take is that 80% of the data that they are validating on a day-to-day basis is in a digitized format, which the possibility of making an error is difficult. But yes, if you are going ahead with a going to a university to do a verification of somebody my age. So probably that data is not digitized, but the guy would still need to go to his archives to pull out documents and see what the gadgets have to say at that for that year and that stuff. Now whether those gadgets are kept properly or not, the results are kept properly or not, whether they are even legible at this point of time or not is something which is challenging. So there still is a challenge, and that challenge will still remain because till the time that data is not digitized. Now, what will anybody be keen on digitizing that data? How much of reuse is happening on the data is still questionable. But easily 80% of the data, 80 more than 80% of the data is digitized. When it comes to education, employment, we don't see a challenge because there are multiple ways of doing employment to see data to fetch on data accuracy. There can be organizations who are not maintaining their data properly, and you can see data point failures over there. But then there are alternate methodologies that you can look at to ensure that your data accuracy is there. Apart from that, I think it's criminal record again is challenging slightly, primarily because of the fact that there's no citizen ID which is mapped to the criminal record data. So criminal record data basically is running basis the name and the jurisdiction you want to run it on. So there a partial match could be challenging, but then it's a something which is known to everybody. So wherever there is a structure to a data and can be identified to a particular individual, is getting tagged to a particular individual by way of, say, in education by way of a roll number, in employment by way of an employee ID, or by way of a citizen ID if there's any data which is getting tagged to that, or by way of a PAN number if any data is getting tagged to that. There you will not see failure on data accuracy. But it is also about how you're processing the data, because this the one thing is getting data from the sources, and then the other thing is processing that and sending back to your client. If you are not using technology and you are dependent on human intervention to process the data and share it back with your clients, then there is a very high probability of data accuracy not being there. And that data accuracy not being there is not because of the source, but because of the processing. So it depends. What data are you looking at? How is the data structured by the source? And how many hands is the data passing from within your data process?
Understood.
Yeah.
Understood. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And the second point which everybody had put on was on turnaround time. Now, turnaround time is something which completely depends on how you want to run your background verification process. So today, I can tell you, if you want to do an address verification, identity, criminal record check, employment, and education, these 5 checks, I can give you results within what, 2 to 4 hours, Himanshu?
Yes.
Right. And that 2 to 4 hours also we are saying only because of criminal record check. Otherwise,
Otherwise, it's instant.
identity,
As this, yeah.
identity is instant, address is instant, employment is instant, education, if it is available on DigiLocker, is instant. So that's the market is moving to.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
if you want to go with the traditional ways, the way background verification has been run in the last 15 years, then you will still be there working, struggling to do between 10 to 15 working days. And that's how it is.
Yeah.
And going back to the point Himanshu made in his last, on the last slide, which was about instant verification. So I think instant verifications, everybody should look at how gig uh, companies like Zomato, Swiggy, Uber, Urban Company, and some of these companies have transformed background verification of their gig workforce. But it's inline verification as the candidate is going through the onboard journey, as the gig worker is going through the onboarding journey, and verification is happening at the same time. And that is something which is now from there is moving towards the white collar verification. But then again, what an organization wants to do, still want to follow a traditional methodology of doing verification, will still keep on struggling with 10, 15 working days to a 2 to 4 hours turnaround time.
Yep.
Yeah. I think we have been discussing some of the examples, or you both have been sharing your experiences. Uh, is there any specific client or a use case or a challenge that you came across that you would want to discuss?
So I think Mansi, that has also been covered, more or less has been covered in the conversations that we are having. Because see, as I said, it's not the way we are doing background verification today is not how we were doing it 5 years back. And 5 years back, what we were doing is not how we were doing it when we started, or when we started way back in 2005. So it has been a journey which is evolving. Right? We from a paper trail journey, we have moved to a paperless journey, and then moving to a journey which is instant verification journey, which is happening over APIs. So there are multiple examples that we can give to you. Multiple clients who have moved, who have gone through all these stages, and today what we are doing today is integrating with their onboarding journeys, integrating with their profile pages on their on the client, on the customer client portals, where individuals are coming and registering themselves for any job application, job or opening which has been there, and starting verification from that point itself. Right. So that's how the entire thing is evolving, and it's not only gig workforce, or the on demand economy where organizations are doing it like this, but there are few traditional organizations also who have moved towards that journey. Right. We are integrating with at least 10 or 12 clients where they want to start the journey, the background verification journey, when the individual is creating his profile on their portal
ATS,
for
ATS
any
or
job opening.
yeah.
Right. So that's where it has moved to, from a post joining verification to a pre joining verification to a profile creation verification. So it, that's the paradigm shift that we are looking at right now.
Yes, Anil sir, as you rightly said, post joining to pre joining to right from the sourcing of the candidate,
Yeah,
and maybe in future the verified profiles you will have the verified candidates itself.
absolutely. So that's the next level. You have verified profiles available.
So that's the future. So on that, on the same lines, I'll just give everyone a couple of examples. So as Anil sir was saying, so background verification companies will not are right now not limited to only background verification of verifying the details. So I'll give you one example of the one company where or one of our client where they are doing the background verification, but during the candidate onboarding journey, they want to ensure that if I am hiring a particular for the particular position, let's suppose for the above the particular band, I want to ensure that the candidate has the certain education from the certain institute, top premier institute itself, and I want to ensure that they have the secured, let's suppose a 90% percentile only for particular roles only. So this is not something I would say a background verification. This is their decision making in their recruitment process or the onboarding process. So these things are also coming into the picture right now, where you make the decisions recruitment decisions basis the information details candidate is providing, rather than just ensuring that he has done the MBA or not, he has done it from the mentioned university or not. It's going beyond that and saying you have scored the 90 percentile or not. Are you actually from the top premium institute or not? Because when you are conducting you have the huge recruitment teams, a person who is doing the sourcing may not comply with your rules. So there comes the technology in picture, which helps you to ensure those decisions are taken by the platform, and you are able to make the decision. That's one example. Secondly, similar example, if I have to talk in the gig space, or the blue collar space, I would say. So there, one of our client is not just what they have created. They have created we have created for them a QR code. You circulate your QR code everywhere. Whoever wants to be your driver partner, you can sign up and register with it. Call, then carry out their trainings, conduct their test, collect their information on the platform itself, and then if they have qualified these steps, then trigger the different checks. So you have ensured that entire onboarding journey is on one platform. You have also ensured that you have just verified initially the minimal details which are required for the sourcing, but on the different stages, you will be conducting the detailed due diligence or the detailed checks if the driver partner has shown the continuous intent in the onboarding process. So you are not investing a lot, and you are also not losing on the that the driver partner is onboarded, but I'm not able to hand over my car or vehicle to him. So that's one example where we have digitized the entire driver partner onboarding, and one where we have digitized the entire recruitment cycle for the a recruitment team. Yeah. So
I think we are
I think
running
Mansi, we
short
should,
of, yeah, we are
we
running
should
short of
quickly
time.
go to Q&A.
Correct. So we do have a lot of questions. Let me just quickly run through them and we'll try to answer them as soon as possible. So the first
Sure.
question is, how does AuthBridge address biases and ensures fairness in the background screening process when dealing with a diverse candidate pool?
So let me just take this. What we are trying to do is move the decision making from individuals or from humans to technology, or I would say technology and processes. It's a combination of both. So
Mhm.
on one side, we are standardizing our procedures, and on the another side, we are involving AI, ML, technology intervention to take decisions based on the verifications that are coming in. That is something which will also help us in addressing the biases and ensuring fairness in background screening process.
Great. So, and the second question is, could you explain the importance of continuous monitoring or continuous background checks and how often they should be conducted?
Continuous background verification is basically done by organizations to make sure that the workplace is a secure place at any given point of time. Now, when you're onboarding a person, you're doing his employment checks, you're doing his education checks, you're doing his credit history check, you're doing his criminal check, and all other checks. Uh, when you're looking at these checks, there are only two things which will remain constant till the time that individual is with you, which is employment and education. But all other parameters will change. The person can change his location or change his house, so which means his address has changed. The person may get into a criminal activity after he has joined the organization, so his criminal records will change. A person may get into consumption of banned substances, so a drug screening,
Right.
continuous drug screening might help you. At least you should give 12 months of time to do a rescreening, because the data also has to come into place before you can actually do for example, a criminal record verification. Or it's only criminal record verification where you have to figure out at what frequency you do it, whether you do it 6 months or you do it 12 months. And that also depends from the kind of work these people are doing for you. For example, if you look at people who are on the shop floor or in the gig workforce, I think it should be done every 3 months or every 6 months. Because in the gig workforce, you have people who are constantly connecting with consumers day in and day out. But when you
Right.
look at an organization where people are working within the organization, you can say the in criminal checks at a frequency of 12 months. Drug test is something which can be done instantly within 24 to 48 hours of you seeing somebody behaving in a very different way, and you feel that there's something completely off about this guy. So that's something that can be done instantly, or randomly picking up people every week and getting their drug test done. But then that also depends upon the kind of people that you have in the organization, the kind of work that you're doing. Drug tests are more prevalent in organizations where the average age of the population is less, and they are doing night shifts and things like that. That's how you have to choose.
Right. The next question that we have is, how do we see the cost attached to changing BGV practices changing? What will be the impact?
So the costs will definitely go down when you go to a digital mode. The costs will definitely go down of what they are. They were in business as usual, or the manual processes that we had been following. But you also have to see the way it is changing from post joining to pre joining to profile creation. Now, if I talk about an organization which hires around 35,000 people, I will not name the organization, an organization which is hiring around 35,000 people in a year. Can you imagine the number of profile creations that happen in that organization in a year to hire those 35,000 people? It's 10 lakh plus.
Right.
Right. So so we as this shift is happening, and we are making sure, or the organizations are making sure that we start our background verification at the profile creation stage itself. The price may go down when it comes to check, but the spend will not go down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Right.
So the next question that we have is, how has the rise of remote work influenced the strategies for background screening?
I think due to the remote work, the technology has played a very important role in the collecting the information and documents at or the any details of the candidate using the platforms or the mobile friendly applications that has helped a lot of background BGV
Yeah,
companies, or for that matter any,
exactly.
I would say, HRMS or ATS. So that's one thing I think.
Yeah, the digitization. So basically, what has happened is the digitization has increased tremendously in the last 4 years. Now, the digitization is helping everybody to deliver what needs to be delivered. I hope that was the question, or was somebody whosoever was asking this question wanted a different opinion than this, or had some other understanding about the question. So
Maybe
I think we
it
will
was
not be.
towards, yeah, it was towards the line of, if now we have more of a remote workforce. Earlier, the data collection and everything, I think that is pretty much answered now.
So yeah, so remote work, one part is that, and second part is basically there are, I mean, what are the risk in if you are having the more workforce which is remote? One is impersonation, one is uh, uh, ensuring that you will not be seeing that person physically, probably. So how do you ensure that the
Yeah.
person which
So
you are interacting is
yeah.
the same person? So
So
that's one
yeah.
risk
So
there.
that yes. So that has increased business opportunities for us as a background verification company. Yes, impersonation is one of the services that we deliver to a lot of organization. Remote work has
Moonlighting.
also increased moonlighting, and that is another solution that we have for organizations. So it has impacted us in a positive way, I would say, if that is the intent of the question. But otherwise, the other intent of the question, which I was able to understand earlier, is that remote work has helped us in terms of digitization of data and organizations moving towards digitized workflows.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I think we'll just take one last question and then we can close. What are the limitations or challenges of using AI in background screening?
Himanshu, this one is for you.
Yeah. So we talk a lot about AI. I mean, so AI is basically when we say AI, it will help us in conducting the verification of some of the checks. So though AI will be there, there will be some level of manual intervention unless and until we move to the verified profile stage. Taking one small examples, having the OCR of your documents. Right now, most of the in industry we have the OCR of the basic NIDs or the basic standard documents. But in future, the AI will help us in conducting the OCR of any document, whether it's education, employment, salary slip, living letter. So that's I mean we are already doing it, but AI will help in achieving the better accuracy in capturing those details. So way we conduct the verification will be changed with the help of AI. That's my take. The AI will not be, I mean, it will not be conducting a complete verification. Still, that decisioning is something will go through the either through the tech non-AI means, but the AI will definitely help in conducting the or reducing the TAT of the background verification or the verifying it manually. So right now, someone has to manually eyeball it, do the data, and OCR will do all those things and extract those details, and also maybe in future taking a decisions like whether you want to conduct verification, whether these details are there in your databases, and how can you pull records of it. Those things will happen using the AI, but AI will definitely change how we are carrying out the background verification.
Right, right. I think with that, we will be closing the webinar. Thank you everyone for joining us today. We will be emailing you the recording of the webinar along with that, the deck. And any questions that we could not answer because of the shortage of time, we will also address those in the emails. Thank you everyone. Thank you, Himanshu. Thank you, Anil.
Thanks, Mansi. Thank you, Himanshu. Thanks everyone for joining in.